Hello, my beautiful Aquarius friends, and welcome to our November 2021 chat. This month is wild. It just goes deep. It goes to the heart of things. It gets real. It gets honest. It gets all sorts of things. And I'm really excited to talk to Aquarius specifically. As always, I have so much to learn from you all and your energy. And anytime I get to sit down and just feel through it, I learn and see so much. So this Scorpio season, we have a lot of energy in Scorpio, right? We've got the sun moving through, Mars moving through Scorpio, Mercury moving through Scorpio, and a new moon in Scorpio. So we are really working with Scorpio, which is all about deep truth, deep honesty, deep self-knowing. And it is such a powerful, potent season of the year. And for Aquarians, this has to do with, the legacy, how you want to show up in the world. And this got me thinking about what that even means. Like, what does it mean to have a legacy? What does it mean to show up in the world, right? Because so often we're going to think of that in terms of like how others perceive us and how we're going to like affect the world. And while that's not wrong or anything to think about, I think one of the things that comes to me when working with the Scorpio season, when thinking about these topics, is that it's about finding the true self. It's about really thinking about what it means to relaxing into who we truly are as a way of leaving a legacy. And, relaxing into who we truly are is a really interesting practice because we're going to think of ourselves, just our natural way of being, as kind of mundane and day to day to some level because we're so used to it. We've been us. We've been ourselves this whole time, like moving through the world, right? And so sometimes, the quieter, subtler, just us being in the world can feel a little bit like, well, am I doing enough? Am I contributing enough to my legacy, to who I am, who I'm supposed to be, who I want to be? And one of the reminders that came up as I sat with Aquarian energy and as I prepared to chat with you was that, part of this month and part of this Scorpio season is going to be about relaxing more into yourself in order to unlock that legacy, to unlock that impact, and to really be on your path. Relaxing into ourselves and really embracing our legacy doesn't need to be a performance, doesn't need to be an external show all the time, right? And I know you guys know this, I don't really think of Aquarians as just purely extroverted people, and everybody's different. We're all different, even if we share similar energies or we share a sign like Aquarius or what have you, there's an extroverted side and there's a deeply introverted, private, quiet side to Aquarius energy that really needs recharge time, reboot time, rest time, daydreaming time, reflection time, and that's so important. And it's just as impactful. It's just as potent. 5 of Pentacles. Okay. But it is so rare. And this is one of those things. I think actually Aquarians, you have a bit of a leg up on a lot of us, but it's still just something I want to remind you of and work with here today. That there is something so rare about somebody who is just so relaxed into themselves. That they're just them. They're not trying to perform what they think other people need from them. They're not trying to control the situation. They're not concerned. 5 of Cups. We're getting into the 5s. This is a time of transformation. Yep. Another card just fell. Let me go grab it. 2 of Swords. Okay. We are in the spiritual lands. Let's pull one more. Those people, though, that just show up and they are just themselves, just relaxed into it. Wow. Do those people make an impact in a room? And 6 of Swords. Okay. We're leaving behind some stuff. I like it. It's powerful. And that is something that changes the world. And I think Aquarians, this is just a reminder that your legacy, your impact can really be amplified by letting yourself be with your truest self, relaxing into it, remembering you're totally allowed to do that, and it will be just as potent, as impactful, in fact, even more so than feeling like you need to force and perform to create a legacy, force and perform to, make that next life shift. I also want to mention, before we get into these super powerful cards, because it's never a dull moment in the Aquarius world, we also have a full moon partial lunar eclipse in Taurus this month, and we start eclipse season on the 19th. And I just want to mention this before we get into the cards, because this is a time of release and transition and transformation. It's a time to check in and notice how we are changing and growing, and to let go of anything that we don't need to hold on to anymore, and to embrace where we're going. And for you, this Taurus full moon partial lunar eclipse is going to be about how you're connecting to your true self, your hidden self, the one that isn't for performing. And I think there's such an interplay between when we are really there with that part of ourselves and we take that part of ourselves out into the world, not to perform, but just to be, just to exist. Also, as we move into Sagittarius season, I just want to mention too, the end of this month is going to be a lot about breakthroughs, open doors, and energy moving for you. So it will be a time of exploration and fun as we close out November. And in general, this month is an exploratory month. It is a month to get really connected to our truest selves and to find our center point. So let's talk about these cards. We got 2 5s right out of the gate, my friends. Wow. 5s in tarot are such an interesting point. I think, a lot of times we're taught to fear 5 energy because, oh no, conflict and distress. But to me, 5s are some of the most transformational, powerful energies we have. These are about deep healing. Specifically these two, the cups and the pentacles. Because the 5 of Pentacles is that story that we're taught very early on. And that's even a part of, I think, like our humanness and being like pack animals, of like never wanting to be shamed or ostracized or kicked out of the group. And that's something we're taught very young, like is the worst thing that could happen. And the 5 of Pentacles, whenever that shows up, it's a time to sit with that part of ourselves that's afraid that if we are truly ourselves, that we will be left behind by the divine, by our peers, by the people that love us, that we'll never be loved again. And it's important to hold this part of ourselves close and love it that much more deeply, because it is just a part of ourselves that needs that love and reassurance, knowing that in just being ourselves, we will still be safe. And so the 5 of Pentacles is always an invitation to that, because each of us has experienced at some point or another a detachment from divine energy, a time where we felt really far from it, or a time where we felt like we just couldn't fit in. We just couldn't, satisfy the demands, the social demands, the cultural demands of the people around us, the environments we're in. And we didn't know how to just be ourselves. And so it's important to take care of that part of ourselves when we are growing and changing. And when we're experimenting with really being our true selves in the world, that kind of experimentation triggers the part of ourselves that's very afraid of ostracization. So we want to hold that part of ourselves close. That's number 1. Number 2, this other 5 of Cups. This is the land between lands. And it's something that's been coming up a lot in 2021. It's a very much of a bridge year. 2020 and 2021 were both these bridge making years. And 5 of Cups is really the in-betweenness of the bittersweetness of letting go of what has left and the excitement of opening up what is to come. And I always find this is a really poignant and potent moment in the process. And rather than trying to run through it, this is what I find. This can be one of the places where you get some of your best ideas and your best information, as long as you're not fighting against your own grieving process and your own becoming process, and you just let the two exist at the same time. This is a doorway energy. It's a doorway between two versions of the world, one that has been and one that is about to be. And in that sweet spot is some of the best creative juice I've ever seen. So these two are really about caring for yourself as you transform and as you transition, as you play with being more yourself. Now, there's another interesting theme going on here that has to do with timing. As we start with the 2 of Swords and then we end with the 6 of Swords. And these cards I love. They're very spiritual. Even though they are in the sword suit, which has to do with our intellect and our mind and how we think through things, The Two of Swords for me is often a card that shows up when we are trying to make a decision, land on something, get to a conclusion, get to a firm, hard resolution of something. And for some reason, it's just not happening. And what the Two of Swords tells me is to hold off on trying to jump to conclusions and assumptions and get to the bottom of it and get to the end of the road. This is a time when you are meant to be tapped into your intuitive forces here with the moon behind her here, and to be less analytical, less judgmental, less focused on what is supposed to be what, and relaxing a little bit more into trust. Divine timing. Take your time. Don't be in a rush. Don't worry about getting to the conclusion of the creativity, the conclusion of the becoming, the conclusion of performing your true self, whatever the question may be. Relax a little bit. Rest a little bit. Let yourself deep dive and bring all those treasures up from the depths. And then we have the Six of Swords, which is a very different energy because this is forward motion. This is about leaving behind an old shore, an old identity, an old way of moving through the world, right? And while there's the bittersweetness, like we saw in the Five of Cups, right? There's also an excitement because there's a new landing spot ahead. There's a new shore ahead that's coming into view. And I think it may take a little time here. I think maybe the end of 2021, you're not quite sure what that next landing will be, that next landscape will be. Maybe you don't have all the keys. And this is what I would say to that. Good. I think in exploring being our truest selves, stripping away the need to be pretty or fit a mold or fit a social requirement, and relaxing into just letting ourselves be. The path ahead isn't going to just be these absolutes. It isn't just going to be about having a plan and executing it. It's going to be about trusting ourselves more, relaxing more, not being so focused on the end goals all the time, right? It's going to be more about being present here and now in this moment. And also just know that, creativity and the process itself can be sometimes really subtle when we're building into a new landscape, a new energetic phase. And for that reason, sometimes it might feel like we don't know what the shore is and we don't know what our path is and we don't know who we are, but in reality we do. It's just that it's moving softly, slowly, and in this real way that has to do with our true soul selves. I have some affirmations to go along with this powerful, powerful month. And oh my gosh, this reading, you guys, just took me somewhere really deep. But here are the affirmations that I have for Aquarius for November. I am allowed to relax into who I am without needing to perform all the time. This trust in myself brings me more success and joy. Peace is my birthright. In simply showing up, magic has already occurred. That's one of my favorite ones. In simply showing up, magic has already occurred. It takes a lot of courage to show up just as your true self in the world. Because we've been taught that the stakes are you either conform to culture or you're castigated, you're shamed, you're cut out. But the reality is that we're all craving and longing for a whole bunch of true selves to show up in a room together and take off all that pressure. So I am just wishing you all such a beautiful November. I would love to hear how it's going for you, how you're feeling, where you are in this process. So please feel free to leave a comment. I try to read them all, even if I can't respond to every single one. And I'd love for you to like and subscribe and hang out. You can also find me on Patreon. We are doing so much cool stuff there every single week. I'm offering worksheets, chats, weekly updates, and of course, just walking us through things like eclipse season and the nodal shifts that will be coming in a couple of months. I'd love to see you over there. You can also find me on Instagram. There's only one real account. There's no dupes. So I will leave that specific one below, as well as my websites. I'd love to see you in any and all of those places, my friends. I'm sending you so much love. I will talk to you very, very soon, and I'm wishing you a beautiful November.